Hey everybody, Hunter back again. I'm going to go ahead and start on this first tutorial on how to mask for a two-tone paint job using a spray can. So I'm going to pan the camera down here. We'll get right into this thing, and I was going to do this in 2 parts. It may take 3 parts to do, so that way I can keep the videos fairly short and get the information in that I'm trying to get across to people. And so here we go. Let me pan the camera down. We'll get started. Okay, what we have here is actually a test cab that I use. This happens to be a Freightliner cab, and I'm actually testing this for a customer's custom mixed candy green that I'm using. And this was sprayed last night, and I got a little bit more tweaking to do to it. I'm kind of happy with the color, but anyway, this is actually sprayed with an airbrush, and should be pretty dry now. Feels dry anyway. But like I say, this is just a test. On this side, it's been sprayed with, I think, a champagne color. And, you know, I use a couple of these sometimes just to do that. It gives me an idea of what it's going to look like on the curves when the color and stuff's done. And, you know, down in the recesses. And before I go spraying it on the model that I'm actually going to put it on. So what we're going to do here is this is sprayed all green just on this one side. I'm going to give you a couple pointers on how to tape this for use with a spray can. So, as most of you know, I only use tamiya tape when I'm doing my masking. Sometimes I will use bare metal foil on a rare occasion. It does work, a little harder to get back off. So, you know, it has its place. With what we're doing right here, it's going to be done with the tamiya tape. And it'll be done with some of this wider 3M tape. Now, the one thing that I must point out here, I think a lot of the problems that guys are having with two-tones is their roll of tape looks just like this. This tape right here is not made to do a two-tone paint job on a model. And one of the things is when you do this right here with the tape, and you drop it down on your workbench, this tape is not protected. So what ends up happening is if you look at the ends of that tape, on the edges of it, see all this stuff right here? That's dirt. That's plastic dust. That's a little bit of everything. In fact, there's a little bit of fuzz right here. There's a couple hairs in this. There is no way to protect the edge of this tape unless you have it in a dispenser, or if you're hanging it up and it never lays flat on your workbench. But as many of you know, if you go and tear a piece of this tape off, just like that, and you tear it off and you're going to put it on your model, the first thing you're going to do with this is drop it on the workbench, just like that. Well, when you do that, the little bit of adhesive that's on the edge of this tape is going to pick all that stuff up. When it does, it's on the edge of this tape. If you could put this under a microscope, you would see how jagged the edge of that tape is. That's part of the problem. The other part of the problem is this tape is too thick. When you put it down and you're trying to create a split line, it's too much of a step. So, that is the reason why I use tamiya tape and tamiya tape only. It is very thin. It is in a whatever you call this thing. This is called a, I don't know what this is called. It's a dispenser. That's what it's called. There we go. Now, another thing is when you pull this tape out of the dispenser, you have to make sure you're not pulling it over here against the sides or over here against the side. You want to make sure that stays right in the center, because see right where I pulled that against the side? You can see a wrinkle in that tape. If you put that tape down, you can try to smooth it out, but it will have a step in it. So you want to get rid of that. That is not good for taping off a two-tone, whether you're airbrushing it or you're doing it with a spray can. So when you pull this tape out of the dispenser, you have to make sure that it's coming out the center. So what I'm going to do right now in this case, I'm going to go ahead and pull a piece of tape out here long enough to go across this cab, and we're going to tear that off. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick a spot to do the two-tone, In this case, I'm going to go right up here above the peep window. And what you want to do with this is very lightly lay the tape down. Okay, and when I say very lightly, that's what I mean. Do not put pressure on this tape at this point. And I will show you why you don't want to put pressure on this tape. So all I've got it is stuck right here and right here. It's not even stuck in the middle. Now, what you want to do with this is you want to start. This top edge will be our split line. So when we spray our second color on here, it's going to be from the top of this tape up. So we want to smooth that down. And the other thing that a lot of people don't do, I have a Q-tip here. Or not a Q-tip, I have a toothpick here. When you're taping and you come like right here where the hood assembly is going to go into place, you want to make sure that this tape is tucked into that step. And I'll hold the cab up here. See the step right there at the tape? You want to make sure that that tape is down into that step. And if you are taping the hood and the cab, if you had the hood to go onto this, this is what you want to do first right here. You want to make sure that this goes down into that groove. And then you would set your hood into place and continue off of that line onto the hood to keep everything straight. If you just butt the hood up to this, one of two things is going to happen. The first thing that's going to happen is when you go to spray that, your overspray is going to blast down into this lip and it's not going to be a straight line. The second thing is you can't get the second color painted down in here accurately if you don't have this taped off properly. So what we have now is we have that tucked down into there. Now we're going to get up to the edge of the door here where the hinge is. And that's another area that you want to make sure that the tape is tucked in nice and tight against that. Now, if you are using tamiya tape like you should be, you will be able to see that tamiya tape is semi-transparent. When you have it smoothed all the way down, it will turn a darker color. Where it is not down and tight against the model, it will be the color that it is when it comes out of the dispenser. Now, right in this area right here behind the hinge, we have a step. So what you want to do in that case, that's why we didn't stick this tape down hard. We want to pull that tape back up. And you want to take your toothpick and press the tape down into that groove. All the way down into there and get it smoothed out. And then you will lay your tape back down to keep it straight. You don't want to stick it down all the way. You just want to touch it just like we did before. You're going to go in and smooth that out a little bit more. And then you want to smooth it on the back side of the hinge. And at that point, you can go ahead and smooth it from there back to right at the back of the door. And you will see that there is another step there. You want to leave that tape sticking up a little bit just like that. And take your toothpick and smooth it into that groove. And then you want to roll it around the edge of the trim on the door and smooth it down again. And then you can smooth it the rest of the way around the cab. Now, what we have here is a failure to communicate. Oh no, that's Guns N' Roses song. Well, actually Bob Dylan song, but, or no, that's a Guns N' Roses song. Yep. Civil War, that's what it is. So there we have it all smoothed down. About as good as you can get it smoothed down with the toothpick. A very clean line. The tape is down. And you could airbrush that and not have a problem with it. Where the problem comes is when you're using a spray can. So, what we're going to do next is If I was airbrushing this, I wouldn't have to tape above that line. My airbrush is precise enough that I can come in here and spray right to it and won't get any overspray on the upper part. In this case, I use the good old 3M, but you can actually use any cheap masking tape that you want to for this. And all you're doing with that is you're making a cover. You just want to stick this down enough so that it covers the upper, actually, let me change that around a little bit before I make a mistake here. You want to tape it off down here because we're using the split line for the top of the cab. There we go. Now we got it going on. Okay, we're going to put that on there, and the main thing that you want to get smoothed out on this piece is just right along your edge that meets your tape. The rest of this doesn't really matter. All it's doing is just covering up the surface to keep your paint off of it. And we'll put a piece of tape across here. Smooth that down. Tuck it in, and we'll need one more on here to cover up this right here at the bottom. And there we go. That is masked off, and that is ready to be sprayed with a spray can. Now, when we come back for part number 2 of this tutorial, I am not going to do anything to this piece. I am going to go over to the spray booth. I'm going to take the camera over to the spray booth. We will be using something that a lot of you guys use, and that happens to be the Krylon paint. This is just some satin pistachio color. Actually, I think I had this for one of my outside metal lawn ornaments is actually what it was used for. I personally do not use this on a model. I have before in the past, but I've learned better ways to do it, and with an airbrush, you know, now that's not to say that you can't take the paint that's in this can and decant it into an airbrush. It'll work great for you. The problem that with a lot of the bleed under comes from it's coming out of this can. You don't have any way to thin it. What's in here is you're dictated by what's in this can, and that can be a problem. But this is what we'll be using in part number 2 of this tutorial. So like I say, I'm not going to do anything to this. What you see right here is exactly the way it's going to go into the spray booth. The only thing that will be different is it will be sitting on one of my older Tamiya spray stands. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and while we're here on camera, I'm going to go ahead and tuck this onto the stand that we will be painting it on. And when we get over to the spray booth, this is what you will see. So stay tuned for part number 2 of the video coming up here right after this one. And we will see you in a few minutes. Bye-bye.